Kevin Number for guys, and as we're reviewing, I really did not know much about this movie going into it. I wasn't even really planning on watching this movie, but I finally did. I figured that this movie just got nominated for a Golden Globe. I might as well check it out, and that movie is none other than Elle. Yes, Elle is a movie that, like I said, I went into it kind of skeptical of what it really was going to be. I was intrigued by the concept. I thought that the way that the movie sounded very interesting, but the trailer was pretty terrible, honestly. The trailer made it look very hokey and kind of like a Lifetime movie in many ways, and I was very worried that this wasn't going to get played out in the way it should. And I have to say that luckily that trailer is not at all what this movie is. Elle is actually a much more deep and emotional film that I think is a very important film, but isn't too heavy in its themes and what it does. And overall, I really did enjoy Elle as a film overall. I don't want to say I enjoyed it because there are definitely moments here that are kind of hard to enjoy. But in the end, I thought it was a very well made film. I really did enjoy it, and definitely you will probably see this film on my list of either if not my best of the year list, you will definitely see it on my honorable mentions because I really do love this movie overall. But let's get to the plot of Elle, which the plot of this movie, that's really what drew me into it. We focus on our main character, Michelle, and this is someone who has kind of a shitty life. She is a game designer. She is the only woman working in this game designing field. No one really takes her seriously, and she kind of wants to be taken seriously. And one day she is raped in her apartment, and this kind of gets her to want to turn her life around a little bit. She is destined to find out who the stalker could be, while also subsequently trying to gain respect from the rest of the men in her life. And it's basically her struggling to get her life together while also trying to, move on from what happened to her. And that basically is the plot of Elle overall. But let's get more into Elle, starting off with the cast. Now, the main reason I really watched the movie is mainly for the cast, mainly because, especially for Isabelle Huppert, because she just got a Golden Globe nomination, and damn does she deserve because she was incredible in this movie. Isabelle Huppert gives one of the most subdued, but I think one of the most realistic performances I have seen so far this year. I really loved her acting in this movie. The character of Michelle is a very complex character. This is someone who constantly kind of takes shit from everyone, but at the same time, she's very much used to it, and she's very much used to working in that environment. She respects her coworkers, definitely, but at the same time, she doesn't really feel respected. You can definitely tell, and she kind of has a very shitty life. All of the men in her life are either using her for sex or they completely resent her and really want nothing to do with her. And seeing her struggle for acceptance is really well handled. And the best thing about this movie, in my opinion, in terms of her character, is the way that she handles this rape. It's not really done in the way that you think. They don't do it too heavy handed. I thought Isabelle Huppert really did a great job. And if Michelle LeBlanc was a real character and she really was raped, this is how I think it really would play out in real life. I think overall she did an incredible job in this movie. And the way that she tries to find someone, based on gestures or the way that they talk to her or certain things they're associated with, I just found so fascinating. In general, Michelle is a very interesting character. And Hubbard really does rise to the occasion to make this character as as three-dimensional as possible. Because on paper, we've heard this character before, but you really haven't. Not entirely in the way that Michelle is. I thought overall they did a really good job of making her character very triumphant and very empowered, but not making it to woman power, heavy-handed, all this kind of like Lifetime shit. They did a really good job making it very realistic, very focused on her, and the movie is very focused on her, but they also do a very good job at making the movie realistic in the way it's executed, and that's really why I enjoyed her character so much. I definitely am very happy to see she got a Golden Globe nomination. She really is fantastic. I haven't really seen her in anything else, obviously, because it's a foreign movie, but I definitely mentioned seeing more of what she's done. I think she's a fantastic actress overall, and overall, she gave one of the best performances of the year. I really thought she was incredible here, and you're definitely going to hear about her come Oscar time, because she really was incredible in this movie. Now, that's not to say that the rest of the cast isn't great, because I think everyone else in this movie really did do a great job, particularly a couple performances I do want to talk about. Christian Burkle as Robert, I really do like this character overall. This is really the only man man who genuinely cares for Michelle. He really does appreciate her in his life. He is kind of having this affair of sorts with her, but you can tell that he's someone who's kind of always there for her. I thought his character was really well done. I thought their relationship, while tragic, I thought overall was very well executed. I definitely really like what they did with that. And Consigny, something like that. It plays Anna. She's Michelle's really only friend. These two kind of a very rough relationship because of the situation Michelle's in. But the way that their scenes were done, I thought were very well handled. You could tell that Anna really does care about her, and I definitely really did love the way that that was all played out. Laurent Lafitte as Patrick, I thought was also really good. This is someone who Michelle is obsessed with. This is her neighbor, who she constantly has obsession with, and I think kind of wishes that she had a better, that she kind of had a better life than he did. Like, she kind of wants his life. She sees how happy he is with Rebecca, and I thought overall he really did a great job. I really did like his performance here. And then the only other person I'll really talk about, I guess, is, well, two, definitely. Jonas Bigot plays Vincent, who is her son, who very much resents her because of the direction that her life has gone, and he really doesn't treat her like his mother. And their relationship is very, very rough and very destructive, but they did a good job in not making it, again, too heavy-handed. And he's not in the movie as much as you think, but I thought overall he did a really good job, and especially when we get to the end of this movie, that very much impressed me, the direction they went with this character. I really like what they do with Vincent overall, and they did a good job at humanizing his character. Like, he's not really a villain in this movie. That's something I definitely really did like. And then Lucas Pricer as Kurt. This is someone who is a game designer and who Rebecca doesn't really, not Rebecca, who Michelle doesn't really trust. I thought he also was really good. Overall, I think everyone really gave a great performance in the movie. There really wasn't anyone that I didn't like here. I thought everyone really was very well fleshed out, and for the most part, everyone really did give a really good performance, and that's something I definitely will commend this movie on. So now let's get to the directing and the writing, because I really do want to talk about, I think, how well this really was executed, because I think as good as the acting was, which, believe me, the acting was great, it's the directing and the writing that really did impress me the most, and I think that's something that Paul Verhoeven really did really well here. I mean, his tone for this movie is very, very subdued, and what I mean by subdued is it's definitely a intense film, obviously, because it's dealing with rape and it's dealing with very sensitive subjects, like rape and neglection and abductions and, affairs, but it never gets too heavy-handed. He does a good job at making this as realistic and really, I think, as thoughtful as possible. You can tell that he really did a very good job with making this seem like a real situation. Like, he addressed the fact that this is a problem. What she went through obviously is a problem. This is something that really does change her, and I like they didn't just make this movie about rape. It's more about the way this affects her. It's more about the way that this impacts her life, and I thought his direction for that was very well done. And very much like Manchester by the Sea, this movie really understands life. And what I mean by that is that Paul Verhoeven realizes that there are some moments that are fun in life, and there are some moments that are really fucking tragic, and he covered those really, really well here. There are some moments where I was definitely laughing a lot. Michelle is a character that makes a lot of jokes, and she likes to poke fun at a lot of things in her life, and I thought he did a really good job with that. But at the same time, there are some really tragic moments, and when the movie gets tragic, it's really, really well done, and it definitely gets in her head very well. I thought his directing was really good there, and that's something that I definitely really will commend him on. I think his directing was great, and I don't know if he's going to get a direction nomination. I could definitely see that happening possibly, but I thought his directing was really good here, and really, if the directing wasn't good, I don't think the movie would be nearly as good as it is, and that's something I definitely was very impressed with. But let's talk about the writing here, because this is by far one of my favorite screenplays of the year. I thought the screenplay in this movie was very well fleshed out. I definitely really did enjoy it overall. And I thought the story we were dealing with here was really, really interesting, because like I said, the movie really isn't about the rape. This is more about her experience with the struggle to find acceptance in life. No one really takes her seriously. Everyone sees her as a sex object, or just this coworker that they want to go away, or just kind of someone who's too upset all the time, and they did a really good job with making us set up her character. But you don't always know where Michelle is coming from. There's some scenes where it's kind of questionable if we're really supposed to like her or not, and that was really well done. Then that was really well done, the way they wrote her character, because No, she's not perfect. Michelle does a lot of things that are very questionable. There are a lot of directions that her character goes that you don't really know where she's coming from there. But again, that's life. You know, you make a lot of decisions and you don't really know what you've done, and they did a really good job with fleshing out her character in that way, and that's something I definitely also really enjoyed was the way they really did focus on Michelle as a character and the way that they try to put as much focus on her in this movie. That's something I also really did enjoy. I thought everything, including her relationship with all of her coworkers at the game thing, I thought that was very well fleshed out because that was when you could see that the pressure was really on her. She wants to feel respected. There's a really great subplot involving this game that they're trying to test, and she has a completely different vision for it, and they're not really listening to her. And the way that this rape very much gets her to finally take action and, actually let her voice be heard was something that was really well done here. And that's something that I definitely thought was really well fleshed out. And what I like about this movie as well is that a lot of people might say, oh, it is a dated situation. This really doesn't happen anymore. It kind of does, though. I mean, there's still people out there who still see women as sex objects and don't really take them that seriously, and it's sad to see, but this movie really did address that really well, that problem still can happen today. It's very rare that it happens, but it does in fact happen, and I like the way the movie really did deal with that. You really don't think that that's a situation that happens now, where women are neglected and women aren't treated the way that they should be, but it is in fact the harsh reality, and that's something that I thought was really well done here. My only issue with Elle is once we get to the third act of this movie, when she eventually finds out who her attacker is, the person that raped her, I thought that the movie really slowed down and I really didn't know where the movie was going to go after that. And what I mean by, didn't know where the movie was going to go, I didn't really know if the movie was sticking with its subdued aesthetic and, very, very realistic attitude. After that, I thought the movie got a little bit silly, but the conclusion of this movie is as satisfying as it could have been. It really did make up for that one scene that I really didn't know where it was going to go, because there is definitely a section in this movie that I wasn't really fond of. I don't really know why they took the movie in this direction, but other than that, I thought it was really well fleshed out. I really was into the story overall, and that's something I definitely will say. This is a movie where I definitely found myself to be very into the story, a lot more than I thought I was really going to be. Let's talk about the cinematography here, because the cinematography here is so well done in the way this is a psychological thriller. In every way, this is a psychological film. Constantly we get in her head, constantly we see things play out. She's constantly haunted by this rape. Any man that she comes across, she's kind of terrified, and they do a good job of making her seem like she's completely okay, when in reality, she is obviously very much plagued by what happened. And that's something I thought was really well done with the cinematography, is the way that she looks at all these men, like I said, just through hand gestures, or the way that they talk to her, or the way that they just do something, or the way that they put their hands a certain way. Just all of that I thought was really well done, and that's something this movie really just take the time to really develop, is who are these men as characters? Could they really do such a thing, and are they really that cruel that they really would disrespect Michelle in such a drastic way that would violate her and make her feel so uncomfortable? But it doesn't make her feel uncomfortable. It makes her feel more empowered. It makes her realize, call to action must be made. And that's something I thought was really good here. The score here by Anne Dudley is fantastic. It's very tragic. It's somewhat over the top, but I thought the score for the most part worked really well. I definitely really did like the score in this movie, and then the editing I thought was perfect. This movie is 2.5 hours long. It really did fly by for me. I was into it the entire time, except for those couple scenes in the third act, which are kind of rocky. I thought for the most part the movie never really dragged. I was really into it. It did take a little bit to get going, but for the most part I thought it was really well handled. I thought the editing was very well portrayed in that regard. And I'm saying I definitely will say is that while this movie is definitely a little bit long, and I did feel the length of points, it never really did lose me, and for the most part I was into it the entire time. So overall, guys, Elle is one of the most surprising movies of the year that I really wasn't expecting much from, I have to say. I really didn't know what this movie was really going to be going into it, but I very much enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's for everyone. I think some people might be a little turned off by the fact that one, it's a foreign film, but also that it's long and the subject matter, but I really would encourage you guys to see it. If you guys are a fan of foreign films, you can handle that kind of movie, because it's not the easiest movie to deal with. I definitely will say it's dealing with a very sensitive subject matter, but it is one of the most subdued and well presented ways that I've seen rape portrayed in a very long time in a film, and That's something that I definitely think is very important. It's a movie that's willing to address topics that other movies really aren't addressing. You know, things like I said, women being neglected, or hates, or just anything like that. These subjects that we don't really think are around today, and they very much are. And that's something that Elle did really, really well, and that's one of the reasons why I liked Elle as much as I did. And I am definitely going to give Elle a 4.5 to 5 or an A. I really did love this movie overall. Like I said, besides a few rocky scenes, I thought this movie was very, very strong. I think you're definitely going to see this film on Oscar lists, and you're definitely going to see Isabelle Huppert over there. She definitely deserves all the praise she's been getting. I really did love it overall. You probably will be seeing it on either my top 10 list or my honorable mentions list. I think it's a very important movie. It's not the easiest film to deal with, but if you can handle it, it's a very important film. It's a movie that I think definitely you should check out. It really is one of the most surprising films of the year. Will probably, if I had to make a list of most surprising films of the year, this would definitely be on there. I expected nothing from this movie, and I really got a very well thought out story that is something very different, and something that very much impressed me is the way that that story was really told, which is really done in a way that I haven't really seen before. But over, guys, my review of Elle. Let me know what you guys saw this movie overall, left your thoughts on it. I really did love this movie overall. I think this is a very well thought, incredible film. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for, I think, another movie review, or will be for something. Scream Queens, I'm not really sure, but I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.